All right, you just signed up for Jiu Jitsu, which is awesome. You're gonna love it. And you're getting ready for your first class or your first lesson. You know you need to wear a uniform or a gi, and so you're gonna go out and order one, but beyond that, you're not sure what else you need or what else you need to bring. I got you covered. We're gonna go through it all today. So first of all, of course, you do need the gi, the Jiu Jitsu gi, and that is different than a karate gi or a taekwondo dobuk. So if you've come from the traditional martial arts and you already have a uniform and you think you can wear that into Jiu Jitsu, you can't. Those are really lightweight, thin material. This is thick, heavy weave. This is made for the grabbing and the pulling and the stretching that you're going to do in a grappling martial art. The traditional gis are not. They're going to quickly rip and tear. So make sure you go out and get yourself a Jiu Jitsu gi. Now you don't need to get a really expensive one to start. I think somewhere in the $80 to $100 range is typically a good place to find decent quality but affordable gis. For most of our new members, we recommend the Fuji. They're a good brand, affordable. There's others out there that are similar, but you don't need to start spending $200 or more just yet. Maybe later, once you've really settled into Jiu Jitsu, you know you're going to do it a while, and you start to find brands that you really prefer, and you want to get a higher quality gi that's going to last longer. But to start off, just go out and find something that's roughly in that price range. Something important to note, especially if you've come from traditional martial arts, when you order the gi, it does not automatically come with a belt. Most karate gis do, and so I see a lot of people who will order their gi, show up, and then realize it doesn't have a belt and wonder if it got lost or if the company just didn't ship it. It doesn't come with it. You need to go out and order your belt separately. So keep that in mind. All right, so you got your uniform. What do you need to wear under it? Well, let me cover one thing that I didn't think I would ever have to cover, but it's come up recently. I've heard some stories of people who wear their gi bottoms or pants without underwear. Please, dudes especially, don't do that. That's nasty. You gotta wear underwear underneath. You're gonna be rolling around, people are gonna be grabbing and pulling, the pants may come down a little bit if they get a little loose, untied. Nobody needs to see that. Wear underwear, please. In addition, for guys in particular, you may wanna wear compression shorts, either instead of or over your underwear. That's going to help keep things packed in tight from flopping, moving around too much, something you probably don't want when you're rolling around. For women, probably don't need that as much, but for women, obviously, you're going to be wearing sports bra to keep things from moving around too much. Up top, then, you don't need to wear anything under your gi. Traditionally, people have just gone bare-chested, put the gi top, the kimono top on. But more recently, over the last at least decade or so, with the advent of Rashguards, you now have these shirts that are thin, stretchy, breathable. They're a good option to wear underneath, especially if you put on a brand new gi, a thick, heavy weave, and you're getting the armpits or nipples rubbed raw. It might be good to wear one. I've just gotten used to wearing one over time for comfort. Personal preference, you do not necessarily need to have one. Women, though, I would definitely recommend, even with a sports bra, having a compression shirt is going to help. So that's what you're going to wear underneath the gi. Something else to think about is getting a pair of sandals, slides, flip-flops. Something super cheap is fine, but you're going to be on the mat barefoot. When you go off the mat, you need to put shoes on, especially if you're going to the bathroom and then coming back on the mat. Please do not be one of those people that walks barefoot around a splattered urinal and then comes back on the mat. It's really important then to have a pair of these that you bring, stick them in your gym bag. Most people will put them by the edge of the mat. When they come off the mat to go to the bathroom, they'll put these back on and then take them off when they get back on the mat. Let's cover protective gear. So mouth guard. Probably not in your first class or first week or so, but at some point you're going to start doing the sparring or rolling where you're going live with your opponent. And while this isn't a striking martial art, there's still a chance that you can get bumped in the mouth, catch a knee. I probably waited, well, according to my dentist, way too many years to start wearing one actively. So after some chipping and grinding, I finally got smart. I've invested in one. Get your mouth guard. Get a mouth guard case so you're not just putting this down nasty on the mat or on a dirty shelf somewhere. But you're going to want to get a mouth guard. And then finally, this is personal preference to some degree, but a cup, protective gear for your groin. It's not required, and in fact, if you ask any wrestler who's been wrestling, which is a grappling martial art for any amount of time, they don't wear them. They're not required because it's not like a striking martial art where you're getting kicks, shins coming up towards your groin, and there's a risk of some pretty catastrophic damage if you're not wearing some protective gear, especially when you're sparring. For jiu-jitsu, not as much. When I started out, I wore one. I haven't worn one in years. I found them just to be a little too uncomfortable when I'm moving around and trying to do things with my legs. So I don't, but some people do. So I would say if you're particularly worried about that, if you still plan to have kids, I've already had all the kids I want, so I'm less worried about that kind of damage. Make your decision based on personal preference. So those are the major things. Quickly to review then, get yourself a gi, make sure it's a jiu-jitsu gi. Make sure you order your belt. Please wear underwear, maybe some compression shorts as well if they're gonna help you. Rashguard, possible if you want it, but it's optional. Definitely strongly recommend some kind of flip-flops or slides. I do recommend a cup, mouth guard and a case, and then the cup. So I hope that helps. If you guys got any questions, let me know. This one's an extra small. This one was definitely one that my kids must have left in my gym bag. All right, anyway, I'll see you guys.